So, whew, that's my start. That's kind of where we're going. I wanted to do this podcast initially in the year 2020, but you know, 2020, 2020 happened, and I didn't want to start this up because I didn't want it to be. I didn't want to start off on the wrong foot necessarily. I didn't want to. Just start screaming or be very rage filled because of what was going on. I felt like what was going on at the time and the uncertainty of it all, it wouldn't have been a good moment in time to start up my podcast and give like an authentic or more neutral version of myself than I could have, because it would have been mostly oh, woe is me, how am I going to handle this, fuck every politician that did anything or it would have been just it wouldn't have been me you wouldn't have seen like the right me that I think that you should be seeing for just having to start off my podcast. Now, not to say that I wouldn't have done it well, but I just think that I just think in the long run it's better to get off on the right foot. And if something happens in the future and I need to be more harsh and critical on others' handling of situations, then I feel like at least I have that neutral spot to lay back on, and that I have that as some sort of guideline of how things are going to go when things are kind of neutral. Because to be honest, they are kind of like, it's not too high, it's not too low right now, as far as 2020 and the COVID scenario is playing out. Like, we have hope that there's going to be some sort of conclusion to this period of time, and that we are going to go back to the way things were, but it's just long enough away where it seems like it's kind of a grind, and it has been a grind, and that's exactly why I didn't want to create a podcast while I was in that kind of rut, right? Like and it was because I was one of the people who was following this from a very early point, that I seen how this could potentially play out, and that when is ignorance truly is bliss in this scenario where but I was not ignorant of the potential of what could happen. And so, like, say I learned about this in October, or like November, December of 2019. Then 2020 hits, it's 2021, and this might not be over with completely until like 2022. So that's like 3 years where most dipshits who couldn't be concerned, who couldn't be bothered by COVID, other than the fact that it's closing down their favorite pissing hole, that they probably only legitimately are going to have like less than a year dealing with the super severe effects of COVID, mainly in part because I don't think that we were really fast enough to act in a harsh enough manner that would have put us in a better position right now, like some of the other countries like Australia. But that being said, the politicians were probably afraid of the things that would happen, and rightfully so. It's, in my mind, it's just a good thing that this really isn't a deadlier disease. I think maybe that's our one saving grace, is that it isn't deadlier. Because, if we're talking a few percentage points, like 5%, 10% of the population, like, wasn't SARS or MERS, didn't that, despite not being very transmissible, didn't that have like a 50% fatality rate or something? Like, extend that out a little, extend the fatality rate out a little, and let's just say the reactions that we had were very inadequate to what would have prevented a mass catastrophe. So that's something that I think that is not just about one particular politician or one particular group of people or any single one company or organization. I think it's more of like a human thing and a human nature fault, a fault in our evolution, if you will, that our preservation and our wanting to live as good a life as possible for ourselves is prevents us sometimes from doing what is really the right thing. And like, up until now, even Canada, we still don't have. We just recently enacted like some very strict traveling bans and traveling halts, and right now, like, we're just implementing this. This is how many years away. I see people on my fucking Facebook, on Twitter, on vacation at the beach, here, there, everywhere. Like although traveling was discouraged, I don't think people really like were 100% like let's not do what we want to do. They were gonna do it. They're gonna do it anyways. And that was part of the problem of why it spread. So hopefully we learn from this, because it's hard to just point out one thing that is to blame. But being a Canadian and how our government speaks to us about how like they speak to us the way like you would speak to your child if they had beers and ended up like in in a cellar overnight, in a drunk tank, getting arrested overnight. The way our government speaks to us is like that. But I don't see that people are really taking ever since like the summer, late summer. I don't really see that people were taking it like lightly. I think there's a very certain group of people that are just don't want it to affect them at all, and they're willing to say bullshit like it's a hoax, knowing that it's not, in order to try and get restrictions lifted or whatever. But it's not a hoax. Like, that's one thing. But like, the reason I side with them is that right now the government's just kind of picking and choosing the things they want to be open. And the schools are the main thing. The rises in cases have been consistent with the opening of schools and the closing of schools, because in Ontario, where we're seeing our dips, our declines in COVID transmission, is at 2 points. Was A, after the summer, and B, after Christmas holidays. Like, after Christmas holidays, we started seeing like the after effects of a decline in cases. And what happened during that time is that Ontario had the extended holiday school closures. So they kept schools closed until like, I think I'm recording this on Sunday, January the 31st. I think they're starting to bring kids back into school this Monday, this week. They're going to bring kids back into school. But, shocker, we've seen a decline in that. So, and I say shocker because it's not really that shocking to me when you have a bunch of people conglomerating into a building, which is exactly the sorts of things that you're trying to ban, that you're trying to prevent small businesses or concerts or or libraries, gym facilities, anything like that you're trying to prevent. But the one exception is schools. Oh, because the kid we are finding it's not transmitting. Well, of course you're finding it's not transmitting. Kids aren't getting symptoms. The virus doesn't affect them as much. They're asymptomatic. They don't even know they're sick. So who knows? And even if you follow protocol and procedures, it's not like the kid's not gonna walk home with his friends from school or say goodbye or bump into somebody else. You're just increasing the probability of transmission by increasing the social circle, because you're saying we're not allowed. At first, we're not allowed to have we're not allowed to have more than 20 people in our social circle. Then it was 10, and now it's 5. But for schools, you can have, if you're looking at a high-end limit, maybe like 100 different interactions. So I don't care. Odds and probability don't care about the protocols you put in place. And it's the one thing where you're going to give an exception to. But we can have all these small businesses completely collapse and completely destroy our economy for decades because you want some kids to fucking make sure they get properly brainwashed. Is that the case? Because they can learn just fine outside of school. You can direct them what to study outside of school and make it work with Zoom sessions and stuff. Maybe since your teachers are part of the union and operate on a seniority priority, maybe some of those old dinosaurs don't even know how to use a fucking Zoom meeting correctly. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not the small businesses. Maybe it's the fact that we didn't halt flights and stop flights across our borders soon enough. And, that's the thing that pisses me off, is because Canada is not a very friendly place to do business to begin with. And that's a reason why we lose a lot of our economic growth potential. We scare companies away. We scare businesses away. Do you ever notice, we come up with ideas first? Like Yahoo... quantum computing, BlackBerry, shit like this. The reason why we're not able to see these things through to their full potential is because of the restrictions that get put on it by the fact that they have to dole out a large majority of their profits back to the government, which in turn the government makes life more difficult for these businesses. So for this on top, this small business fist fucking on top of the already you're paying half of your business profits. If you're doing well in a business, half of that's going back to the government. For what? For them to tell you can only have 5 people max in your store, even though all of them are wearing masks and whatever during a virus, and then turning around and blaming it on them when cases are going up, despite the fact that we have the schools open. It's just it's insane. I don't see any way that can help what's going on right now. And there's no kind of way forward.